Welcome to Becoming Spiritual, a podcast about the magic that surrounds us and has always been a part of us. I'm your host, Heather Dolan, a passionate seeker dedicated to bringing together beautiful humans who are doing amazing things in this world. Together, we will explore healing modalities and practical spiritual practices that can enrich your everyday life. We will also hear stories of awakenings, many from people in the corporate world who have broken out of the spiritual closet. Wherever you are in your journey, know you have found a community of open-hearted individuals committed to making themselves and our world a better place. Welcome home. Today, I am joined by Connie Viglietti. She is a scent priestess, a Reiki master, a Thai yoga masseuse, as well as a newly published author, and she has launched her own anointing oils. So she is multifaceted. We had such a beautiful and fun conversation, but let me share a little bit about her before we jump into the episode. So Connie uses her creativity and power of presence to hold sacred space from which transformation and growth inspire all who work with her. She is an intuitive healer and sacred container creatrix with an extensive background in yoga and meditation, birthwork, and wellness coaching. Her previous work with Amaya and the Back to Her online program creatively mentored hundreds of women worldwide, connecting women with their purpose and voice using community, yoga, meditation, and coaching. Guiding women to their inner wisdom and remembrance and watching them rise is what thrills her journey. Connie holds monthly women's circles and workshops, both in person and virtually. She runs retreats and offers trainings. Her signature offering, Radiance Remembered, is a journey to healing and wholeness in an 8-week private transformational package that's offered both in person and remotely. She offers private intuitive healing in person and remotely as well, which this could consist of her oil anointing, Reiki, intuitive Thai yoga. So take your pick. Connie does a lot. Connie lives in Montclair, New Jersey, and she loves the ocean, performing and spending time with her big Italian family, especially her husband, 2 children, and dog. So we are going to jump in, but I hope you enjoy this beautiful conversation. If, just like always, you have any feedback or comments, please share with us. Like this episode, subscribe to the podcast, share it with someone that you love, especially if it's a woman who might need to hear some of the themes that we discussed today, especially around worthiness, loving ourselves, giving ourselves time and space, and even that permission to do whatever we need to do to get through the day and rise. Please share this episode with someone. It would mean so much to me. I know it would mean a lot to Connie and to our community. So enjoy the episode. Welcome back to Becoming Spiritual, and welcome, Connie. I'm so happy to have you here.
Heather, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So first, why don't you share with our audience a little bit more about you?
Yeah, well, I'm a priestess. I'm a sacred space holder, and I love gathering women together to unwind, let our hair down, and witness each other in life and the joy and the messiness. And I think that we heal from that place. And that's me in a nutshell. I also offer one-on-one healings, but this priestess path has really cracked me open. And if you would have asked me 5 years ago that this is the turn that my life would be taking, I would have laughed at you, laughed in your face.
That's the most real world definition of something that can be seen as spiritual, which is just so beautiful. So what does it mean to you to be a priestess? Because I'm sure a lot of people are thinking the only thing they know is from mythology or history of a priestess, which, let's be honest, a lot of times from a historical perspective, probably not viewed as much because it was kind of witchy in a bad way, not witchy in a powerful, good way. So tell us about the priestess path.
Well, yeah, I think to be a priestess in the modern day is to really reclaim I don't want to say the word status, but the way that they were revered, this negative connotation of the witch and the mysticism that is negative. It's time to reclaim it. So to walk as a priestess, I walk in love as love, and I get to hold sacred space for people to remember who they are. And just the reclamation of this gift is so special to me.
And I'm guessing that power that's within all of us, it's literally being born into who we are, you have it. You don't have to do anything special to say, I am this or I am that. You
I mean,
just are.
that is it. That is it. And I think as a priestess and calling myself that, I think that I do exactly that for people by, taking the title away or not. When I'm standing in my power, using my voice and with a loving, open heart, I really do believe that that helps others to look within themselves and see themselves in that way, because we really are a mirror of each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to say reflecting back who we really are. And yeah, you're holding space for people and being that reflection, which is so beautiful. I love it. So tell me, because I know one of the things in your bio is being a scent priestess. What does that mean?
I think in ancient times, priestesses were, they were healers, they were space holders, they performed ceremony, they were holy, they were magical. And so my path led me to study with Diana Dubrow and Elaine Kalila Dowdy, and they're reclaiming the scent priestess. So Mary Magdalene was a scent priestess. She anointed Christ. And so that lineage exists within what I am learning. But basically, we were the ones that anointed. We anointed when we were doing burial rites, death rites, birth rites, healings. And essential oils are so powerful. We kind of know this, they're this upsurgence of it in the past, I would say like 10 to 20 years,
Yeah.
maybe in my life anyway, with the doTERRAs and the Young Livings. There is so much medicinal properties to using essential oils. But what I was really introduced to were the spiritual and energetic properties. So the way that the scent vibrates at a higher frequency, really, that our bodies vibrate. Our bodies get to lift up into this vibration.
Mm.
And so, yeah, the scent priestess anointed, whether it's the third eye, the throat, the entire body. This was a ritual that women bestowed. And then when Christianity came in, that was one of the first things the priests took, our frankincense and this rite, this ceremony. To walk as a scent priestess, really, it makes me kind of giggle because I am using oils every day. And, our teachers generally say when you are anointing every day and putting intention behind your life in new ways, right, to dissolve the patterns that are keeping us stuck, et cetera, and really walking our purpose in our truth, you'll walk into a room and your scent will fill the air. And people often tell me that, like, my gosh, you look
I know
amazing
Connie was
today,
here.
or you smell amazing. Yeah, exactly. And it makes me giggle because sometimes they won't even have anointed and people are picking up this vibration through scent.
So when you put on an oil on yourself, even if it's to get ready for the day, which I want to dig into this a little bit more, are you tuning into what do I need for the day and picking like a specific oil of, okay, what is today, or what am I feeling right now in my body or my heart or whatever? And then how do you figure out where you put it?
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love this question. So I work with blends that I make. I work with my teacher's blends, Diana Dubrow and the Emerald Temple. Her oils are really what inspired me to keep kind of looking. So her oils are like the 7 chakras and more. She's got plenty, but working with the essence of the energy centers to lift them, to heal them. And I kind of like was looking for a little bit more when women would come to my table, like the radiance oil in my line, for example. I was just noticing this dull energy that's tired, over it, overworked, over responsible, stressed. And I wanted to create a blend that would remind us how radiant and amazing we are. So then I went down this path of sitting with individual oils to bring the blend together. So to answer your question, yeah, sometimes it's a specific practice. Like I really want to get to know my temple keeper oil, which chose me, which is my lifelong oil, which is cedarwood. So what does cedarwood have to teach me? What does she smell like? What do I anoint her for? What does she mean to me? And for example, it's really grounding and it reminds us to return to our true essence. So I spend a lot of time with that to get to know what is my true essence? How do I stand in this like rooted tree that's so majestic and ancient? So it could be to get to know a single oil. I've been using a lot of lavender lately. I burnt my hand. So you're using the medicinal purposes of it, but also then like, wow, lavender, it's so common, but also the power of it. you think it's so common, but it's common for a reason.
Right. It's it's
Yeah.
like they call it the Swiss Army knife of oils for a reason. So I got into, like you were saying, Young Living just because a friend had gotten into it and shared it with me. And I have some doTERRA stuff too. So I have someone else who does doTERRA. And so I started using these oils and using them when my kids were little, like babies. Like I started using it to make my own baby wipes, which was a little crazy. I ruined so many serrated knives because you had to cut paper towels in half and soak them in like the solution, which had a tiny little bit of, I think, lavender and something else. It was just so funny. Like on Sunday, I'd make like thing of wipes. And I'm sure my husband thought I was, nuts. I think everyone thought I was nuts, and made my own laundry detergent, all these things. But, I still make like my yoga mat spray and whatever. But with lavender, so lavender, I just was sharing actually with friends of the power of this plant. And I have a lavender bush outside and it's just stunning. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. I'm like, I do nothing to it. And it just multiplies. And the earth just gives so much when you allow it to just be and flourish. And I don't do anything to it. And so I had burned myself full on. I was curling my daughter's hair and I reached around, and instead of grabbing the handle, I grabbed the barrel of the curling iron. So anyone who's ever done this, yeah, your skin like basically almost sticks to it. I mean, it was quick, so at least my skin didn't like melt onto it, thank God. But I mean, I full on grabbed it and I was like, oh my gosh, go grab the lavender. And my daughter was like, okay. I just smeared, like I made just this massive smear of lavender oil in my hand. I wrapped it with a bandage. I took it off an hour later. I did it again. I will tell you, within an hour, nothing. Like didn't even know that I burned it. I mean, it literally like erased whatever happened to my skin, which from a cellular level is pretty insane. And I kept using it that night. I put some on and the next day I was like, oh, let me see. Nothing. And that power of just lavender, for instance. So anytime anyone has a burn, like keep it in the kitchen, it's in the bathrooms, it's everywhere. And we've used it for sleep and calming. And my kids, it's really interesting what you're saying about cedarwood. My kids' childhood was cedarwood. I had them smell it before bedtime. I diffused it in their bedroom. The sleep oil for us was cedarwood. When it's safe, because you can't use some of these oils when they're really little. So don't go just like using oils without educating yourself. But like every night I'd rub a little on their feet and it just became the smell of my kids because that's what we use to like calm them and ground them for bed. And it's really interesting because I haven't thought about it until this moment when you were talking about the oil properties with the frequencies. I would always see frequency and I never appreciated until this moment thinking about it, all the hertz. And it would talk about the hertz. And I'm like, I mean, who cares about that? And I would look at it and be like, what am I using this for? And this will just help me feel calm, or this will help me feel energized, or whatever it might be. I actually I have vanilla that I rub on sometimes when I need something. And then I have my abundance oil that I just smell where I'm like, calling it in. And I have an abundance spray my friend gave me. Actually, it's from a store in Montclair where you are.
Yeah. Is that Dolly Moo?
Yeah.
Oh, I love
so I'll be like spraying and I'll be like, come on, abundance, come on in. And I literally like spray it. So I'm thinking about these ways that I use oils in my everyday. And I haven't been probably as intentional. I use oils like for cleaning and stuff, like pretty green in the house and use different things for cleaning. But I love this idea of the anointing and being a bit more intentional. Like I think probably the most intention I have is with like the abundance or the vanilla, or if I'm stressed out, I need some calming and I'll just sniff something,
Yeah.
But I love this idea of being much more intentional with the oil and not as reactive, which I'm probably more in a reactive phase of like, oh, my neck hurts. I need to go grab my deep relief, or I took a bath with another oil the other night with bath salts. Like what does my day hold? What's calling to me maybe? What are those frequencies that I need?
There is something that you said that I think is so worth letting our listeners just like
Oh, tell me, what did I say?
You said, I made my own baby wipes and everybody thought I was crazy. Yeah. But like, it's like, why is that so crazy? Can everyone just close your eyes and imagine Heather as a young mother with so much love in her heart? Seriously, Heather, how beautiful is that you took time to actually make something that you could just go to the store and buy. And I think this is going back to the intention that like you made these wipes with so much love for your children because you wanted them to have the best. and have things clean. So I think that this fits right into intentionally making the oils and intentionally using the oils. That life is so busy and there is nothing crazy about slowing down and opening your heart and pouring intention into our lives, because that is where, like, what is life really all about? So I don't know. I just had this image of you that took my breath away. Like, gosh, I wish
Aw,
I would have done that, because it's not crazy. It's so, so beautiful. Um,
thank you.
I love it. And that is a memory that I'm just so happy that you shared. And then also you were saying that you anointed your children's feet with cedarwood. And here's the thing that's so beautiful about our senses. So when you are taking in a blend, a single oil, it goes into the olfactory system and it lights up the parts of your brain that carry emotion and memory.
Mm,
So years from now, when your children smell cedarwood, they're going to relate that with love,
mm,
safety, and grounding, that we're safe to relax. And they may not know it, or maybe they will, but look at that gift that you gave them. And maybe you knew, maybe you didn't, but I think that this is what's so cool about using the oils, let's say in a circle of women. When someone is emotional, you can take an oil and have them just breathe it. They don't even need to put it on their bodies.
yeah.
Or you have a pillow on your eyes and you're receiving an anointing, that an oil will stand out in a blend, and maybe you can't place it, but it brings up something in your body to be celebrated, witnessed, released. Maybe there could be heaviness around a certain scent depending on the memory, and it could be from this lifetime. It can be from past lifetimes. I think that when we do this work, we sort of slip between the veils of time and we meet ourselves, and this is how we remember and really step into the next versions of ourselves over and over again.
Yeah. Wow. It's so interesting because I think about some smells from childhood. I never thought about it with my kids with the oils, but that makes sense. And I hope they do feel that. Actually, I just said it to my husband. We had to put some stuff in the attic last night. And he went up in the attic, and that smell of an attic, like a hot summer attic. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, that's the smell of my childhood, like smelling that. And it just brought me back. I kind of got lost for a moment, but I was just like, summer nights, like that's what came back to me, the smell of fire. If I smell like campfire, I'm instantly transported. It's so beautiful. So it makes sense that from oils, you would have the same reaction or memory trigger, but also thinking about some smells that almost repel you, where you're like, no, nope. And maybe this triggers trauma or something you witnessed.
Totally. Well, I will share with you too that working with my teachers, we would sit a month with an oil and really get to know it. And I had a really hard time with the compassion oil that my teacher has blended. And probably to your point, there's a lot of rose in it. So its frequency is really high. And generally speaking, I prefer the woody scents, the more musky scents. That's kind of my jam. So florals don't really, it's not really my jam. But I had to really sit with these oils, and they taught me a lot about my frequency, that I really needed to practice using them, and that I really needed to turn love back towards myself and having compassion for the dark parts and the parts that needed to grow. And that's where the journey began, to really look at, like, I put out so much love for everyone. How can I love myself better?
All of our journeys.
Yeah, all of our journeys. So isn't that also, I think it's also pretty interesting that you may not even like a smell, but there may be medicine in it for you to still learn about it and play with.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it, because I would think, yeah, I'd probably be like, oh, no, bad, something, don't,
Yeah.
versus, yeah, let me uncover why am I having this reaction. So,
Yeah.
what led you to create your own line of oils? So, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I've been creating oils for probably about 15 years as a yoga teacher and a birth doula. I was introduced to doTERRA oils, and I always loved when yoga teachers would come around during Shavasana and put a lotion on you, an oil that smelled really good. So I would blend for retreats. I would bring them to births to help birthing people move through contractions, or maybe like a lavender foot rub, or bringing the clary sage out when we needed it, bringing the peppermint oil to lift the spirits. That was my first introduction to oil. And then when I stepped into this training, it was kind of like, I want to keep blending. And I still will always use Diana's oils. And it was kind of like the creative spirit that I am wanted, what happens if I make my own by really listening to what people that are coming to me might use. And again, it's kind of like this inner voice is telling me to do it. And I'm thinking like, what? Am I really going to do this? Is this really no judgment, but curiosity? Like, this is just not really where I saw my life taking a turn. And it's been so joyful. It's been so joyful to create and learn and then see actually how it's moving people in our community is such a joy because these oils have really changed my life. And you know what? When I first started using them, this kind of comes back around to intention. I have a yoga background, so sadhana and really like moving through different practices intentionally over and over again to learn is a part of how I operate. So the question would be, is it the oil or is it me? Right? And I think that the answer is both. You know, an oil and a self-anointing practice can be such an easy ritual that helps you slow down, drop into your body, create an intention, create this marriage, synergy, harmony between you and the oil, where you have this relationship with it that you get to explore together.
Right.
Never mind the medicinal purposes, right? The spiritual, the frequency shifts that you'll experience. So I think saying yes to a blend and a certain practice is just going to get the ball rolling to, I want to use the word enlightenment, but like a shift in consciousness, a shift in pattern breaking, in calling in, manifesting. So yeah, that was really the intention behind creating my own line. And it's been so enjoyable.
So intuitively, you're blending for clients and sessions and things like that. And so now you kind of go on this journey of creating your own line of oils. And so do you go back to your teachers and say, okay, you've created yours. Like, how'd you do it?
Absolutely. And the thing that I also kind of want to pull in is community. So yes, to the individual, we can come together in a group, and healing is so palpable in a room of, I mean, what I'm used to is a room of women, but I'm sure it's like that for men. And then you go and you kind of like do the work individually and then you come back. So what has been so profound for me is, yes, I go to my teachers, but not only my teachers, but the women around me are also blending or also have opinions or also really know, like we all have these temple keepers that we hold. So where I really know a lot about cedarwood, you know, my dear friend would tell me a lot about silver fir and what she's learned from this really protective wisdom keeping property that it has. So, hey, I'm probably going to use that oil in the oil that I make for the crown chakra. So, yes, to getting advice from them, but also really what has been really affirming on this path, Heather, is that when I sit down to do, whether it's a blending or a healing, I already know what to do. Right? Like, of course, there are things that I'm learning along the way. I'm doing my aromatherapy certification right now because that feels responsible and that feels exciting to like have the accountability to keep learning. But there's just something about our intuition that if we really listen, it's divinely led. So, you know, I have a singing background. So while I'm blending, I'm paying attention to the oils and the way that they're speaking to me, the way that even when I walk away from the blending table, if I'm taking a walk or riding my bike and I smell a certain plant going by, like that's crazy to me that I'm actually tuning into the smells on a bike ride. So I'll pay attention to that and then I'll go back home and I'll write things down. I'll use crystals and I'll use the singing bowls and I'll sing and I'll put prayer into the oil. So it's not just like you're getting a bottle of a blend of essential oils, which would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But rather, this is what makes them, in my opinion, holy. And this is what drops you into slowing down and using them because it is intentional. Like when you think about, if you know anything about the Magdalene and when she anointed Christ, she used spikenard. And that spikenard that she used, used the entire jar, they say, would have been worth a year's wages. So there's this preciousness that comes behind the oils, which nowadays, by the way, are still very expensive, as you mentioned, but to not be so precious with them, but also there is a preciousness to them that we can bring to the practice.
Yeah. It's a balance of not saving it and thinking like, I'm going to save this for something has to be really special, but it's like every day, let me bring this into my everyday, because every day can be and is magic. And so how can we create that in the everyday versus waiting for
Yes.
that
I love that you said that, because it's about the worthiness. And I think that that is a piece that I have learned through this daily anointing, is that I am worth every drop of that oil. I'm not going to be precious about it. I'm going to use it. And when I run out, I will make another one or I'll purchase some more because I'm worth it.
Yeah.
And I think that worthiness is translating and helping the abundance and the growth in, it is a business, right?
Right.
I am in this business, but it's also so much more than a business to me.
But you're also putting that intention out there. I mean, how beautiful that you're putting all of that frequency and vibration and intention into every oil with the singing and the singing bowls that's a lot. That's not just being in a factory with machines that are dispensing oils into a bottle. And,
Right.
Of course, they still hold their frequency and properties because they're made from the earth, but it's going to be very different than what you're talking about. Even that ritual of your blending process and this whole thing, like those rituals, I guess going back to that priestess path, the big part of that is something that is so lost because we're all like, yeah, it's easier for me just to buy that. And look at places like Amazon and stuff where we just want things like they can be delivered to our door in a couple of hours if we need it. And so we've kind of gotten into this societal mindset of like, oh, I need that and I need it now, and not having this patience where maybe you might say, yeah, it's going to take me some time to come up with this blend for you, but there's going to be so much love and thought and intention put into it. Like how beautiful. And also on the other side of that, the worthiness of using it. I know there's people out there who need to hear that, because I think even me hearing that I do that with so many things where I am precious, where I'm like, oh, I shouldn't use that. I shouldn't wear this thing. It's expensive and I should save it for this. And yeah, like that just really shifted my mindset of like, I'm almost saying I'm not worthy. This occasion of being with a loved one isn't worthy enough for me to do this or to do that. And the more that we give that to ourselves, how then the universe is like, oh, great, you want that? We'll bring in more and we'll bring in more versus, yeah, most of us, and I try to not be in that space of lack, but I don't think I really connected that until this moment of like our everyday actions speak to lack if we're not serving ourselves in those ways and giving those things to ourselves. So that's a beautiful point.
So beautiful. Yeah.
I love it. And so you said temple keeper. So that sounds like a super fun name to have a temple. So what does that mean?
So when we came into this gorgeous program that my teachers have designed, the Rosa Mystica Mystery School, everyone is a temple keeper. So in ancient times, we were just talking about this on a call, like the Bandarai, the Druids in particular. Our teacher was sharing with us that, when a little girl turns 9, the grandmothers of the collective would take her in and would work with her and really get to know her gifts. And when she had her first bleed, she would enter the temple space and receive kind of like her position or what would she be the temple keeper of. And so the way that our teachers have done it for us in modern times is they sit with us and the oil chooses us. And every time, Heather, when you start to get to know like the women that are in the program, I mean, the oils that are chosen for them are absolutely perfect. So cedar chose me. And so what does it mean to be a temple keeper? It's me really getting to know this oil. And her holy name is the eternal return. So no temple was built in ancient times without cedar. I think Solomon's temple had 150 of the largest, most beautiful cedarwood trees to build it, painted gold. It was revered. And I know that shamans and native people use cedar to clear the energy to burn. And it makes this crackling sound when it burns, and it smells amazing. And it sings, in my opinion. So, as I'm walking, you will not know this unless you're listening to this, or that is what I do, that is what I love. I think that what I take very seriously is, my name is Constance. It's consistency. It's right. It's true and it's steady. And I think that a cedar is like that. A cedar marries heaven and earth, right? That we can be this still point for people to help them remember who they are. So for me and cedar, that is what it is. In ancient times like that, maybe you would have been the medicine woman or the shaman or the healer or the songstress or the astrologer or, astronomer, and what you would have brought to the temple and held as your job. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Thank
Isn't
you
it?
for sharing that.
Yeah.
I've never heard that term, but it's so beautiful. Like it just elicited so many visions all of a sudden of, someone being at the foot of this temple and learning their, whatever their craft or gift or, cracking open of something. Just,
Exactly.
that's really cool. Let's go back a little bit to how did Connie become a temple keeper and scent priestess and all these things? You mentioned yoga being where you first got into oils. And so tell me how this all came about, how you stepped into this space of all these different practices. And obviously so much has evolved, but where was like the beginning?
I think the beginning was probably like, if I look at, I was raised in the Catholic Church. And I remember being really rowdy about where are all the women, like that really bugged me and like pissed me off. I actually found an article where there was 3 of us in there, like real angry about girls not being able to be altar servers.
Like from a young, like a young age.
Yeah, which is funny, right? So even then, I think I had a spirit about me kind of like fighting that. But I joined the choir. I was a singer. My grandmother was a singer. I loved to sing. So I grew up singing and performing. I would like to act. I did a few musicals in high school. I never really did anything outside of our high school musicals and like junior high musicals. I say have because she's still such a precious part of my life. But my very first voice teacher was also working at the high school. So I got to work with her so closely and she always encouraged me to keep singing and acting. And so that led me to study music theater in college, which I don't know that was even what I wanted, but I had no idea what I wanted. And then I fell into the arms of another precious voice teacher, an amazing soul tribe. I think that was a soul appointment for all of us. I have wonderful friends to this day that was our coming of age, making art together. So really stepping into my artist. And then I moved to the city and got really, really discouraged, I think. I did some really great work as an actress and singer, and I was really tired of feeling the gift within me in someone else's hands. That's kind of how I like to think of it. So I met my awesome husband and was like, I need more. I'm going to do a yoga teacher training. And he was like, do it. So I thought that'd be my like survival job. Little did I realize how little you make as a yoga teacher, but at least I could be cultivating my spiritual life that was so present growing up, the spirit that comes through singing and creating, that divine presence was back again through the yoga practice. And then sort of like psychic capabilities started to whisper to me a bit. And then cutting to like having my children, and feeling like that changed my life. And I really had no support because I was away from family and what it felt like to sit in a circle of women and just say my name during a teacher training. And I just cried. It was like, wow, I really like to be with people. And I really like sitting in this circle. It feels like we used to be raw and expressive in our art in college. And I kind of made a vow then and there that I want to bring women together and I want to amplify women's voices, particularly mothers in that moment. And then cut to me and my best friend creating a online program. I'd like to say it was kind of like ahead of our time. It was just at the beginning of people doing online programs. And then COVID happened a few years later, and COVID should have made our business go through the roof, but we were so burnt out. The heavy lifting of parenting and navigating, it all really broke us down. And then that's where we took this online program with these amazing priestesses. And through the archetypal work that felt very, theatrical in some ways, because you're looking at these archetypes of the priestess of women, really, the great mother, the goddess of compassion, like all these faces that we wear of women. and looking at them, looking at the light and the dark, and where do I fall in the spectrum of that, really knocked me out of my socks. And I thought, like, oh, I'm really stepping into something that I can share. I can use my voice. I guess one of the important parts of all of this also is Reiki. My father is a Reiki master and passed that gift on to me years ago, but I just didn't use it except during Shavasana. And then when COVID happened, Zoom yoga was tough. And so I started offering my clients distance Reiki. And again, the psychic stuff started to kind of kick up. And when we moved from Brooklyn to Montclair, New Jersey, I looked at my husband and I was like, okay, this is going to sound crazy, but I want to be a full-time Reiki practitioner, and I want to host women's circles, and I want to run retreats, and I want to be the woman that people call when they want a ceremonial rite of passage to celebrate. And he was like, what? And Heather, it's happening. 5 years later, it's happening. So yeah, that's what led me here. And really, it's this voice of, I think, connection to the divine that has always lit me up, whether it's through creating, through connection and healing.
So back up to your dad's a Reiki master. So you have this Catholic upbringing, but your father's a Reiki master. So what was that interplay like in your house?
Totally.
I mean, that just feels like the opposite of this spiritual, magical healing, but then you've got this really structured, power-centric religious organization. So I'm just so curious. Or was
I love this question. Yeah. Thanks for hearing it, because I do think an important part of my spiritual path is that watching him and my mother parent us, and I'm the firstborn. So leaving for college and leaving the state, I think I was the first to leave our state. I think I had an immigrant grandfather and immigrant great grandparents.
And where were they? Where'd you grow up?
They were from Sicily. We grew up in Pennsylvania, though.
Okay.
So I went to school in North Carolina, and every time my parents came to visit me and they saw my expansion and my joy and my curiosity and the support that I got from my teachers, through all the shows that they would see, I saw parts of them expand in wonder and love and pride. And when I left home, I did continue to go the first year going to church in the South. And I didn't really like the Catholic service there. It was fine. But for my father and I in particular, because mostly we talked about it, there was this there has to be more than this. And I'd be like, Dad, I got this book called Conversations with God, and I think you would really like it. And he's like, Con, I've already read all three of them. So it was this constant thing where I would present, or who's the guy that does the past life regression?
Many Lives, Many Masters, Brian Weiss.
Yes. Okay. So
that
Brian
came
Weiss.
in a minute ago of oh, I wonder if they read that.
Yep. So I'd be like, Dad, and he'd be like, oh my God, I already read it. And even the yoga mat, I'm like, what are you doing? Why is there a yoga mat in the basement? When I would go to visit, and he's like, I started doing a yoga practice. And I was like, I'm doing a teacher training. And he's like, get out of here.
Wow. You're like simpatico. Journey.
Yeah, always. He's something else. So then he was diagnosed with cancer in 2006, prostate cancer. And he was getting a massage from a wonderful woman that did some Reiki on him. And he was like, what are you doing? I want to learn. So, when I was teaching yoga, he was learning Reiki and practicing on anyone who would help him hone his craft. And I remember he gave me Reiki right before my son was born. I think they came up the weekend before he was born, and I saw Hudson's face. I knew he was a boy. I saw his face, and I was like, that was so wild. I don't know what you did, but I know. Yeah, so these things would kind of go back and forth with us. And then he got to attune me. And when I would start with the Reiki sessions, I'd constantly call him does this happen to you? And we would go through what came up. And he was always my biggest champion with that.
What a
and
gift to
gets
have
it.
your
I
father do
know.
that,
It's
even to
pretty
have him
cool.
do like your attunement. And for those who don't know, when you go through Reiki training, you get attunements. You could liken it to like a blessing where they're kind of energetically attuning you. And it's something that you have forever. You don't lose your attunement if you don't use it. That's not how it works.
No.
So, what a beautiful gift to be
Yeah.
attuned by
So cool,
your
right?
dad. Yeah.
And I remember the attunement. I think I may have been the second person he attuned, I think. And I sat in the chair and we're like kind of looking at each other like when you hear the word attunement and getting attuned to be a
Uh-huh.
Reiki practitioner, it feels like there should be, I don't know, like the veils lift and then yes, the angels are singing. Like it feels so we're like in the basement that I grew of the house I grew up in, sitting on a chair. And I'm like, is this going to work? We're laughing about it. And I closed my eyes the whole time. And I remember at one point, I felt my fingers start to buzz. And I was like, oh, that's okay. Maybe I'm just really focusing on my hands. So when the whole thing was finished, I looked at him. He's like, did anything come up for you? You want to talk about the process? And I was like, the only thing I noticed was when you had your hand on my left shoulder or wherever, whatever he was doing, my fingers started to tingle. And he goes, I was activating your hands of light when that happened. And we both were just in awe, like, and I don't ever want that to go away, Heather. Like, I think the awe of what we are capable of is, and everybody, by the way, I know that you know this, but we're all capable of this.
Yeah.
It's just, are we giving it time and attention to develop? Some people, things come more naturally to.
Yeah. That's really cool. During my attunement, I was like, was that what a Kundalini like rising experience is? And then my teacher was like, well, mine was like top down. So she's like, no, that's not a rising. I was like, that makes sense. It comes from the ground up. So yeah, not a rising. But I had this insane flash of light. Like my eyes were closed and it was like think of like a nuclear bomb going off, like this just crazy bright explosion that like jolted me. It just kind of was out of nowhere. And I was like, what was that? So I'm sharing and it was cool and actually that happened while my identical twin sister was next to me getting her attunement. So we were sitting next to each other and that happened during hers before she moved to me. And I was just like, I don't know what that was, but it was pretty crazy. And yeah, I felt this energy come in and down.
I love it.
Which was pretty cool.
Absolutely. And I think like you hear stories like that. So there's this expectation that's like, is it going to happen to me?
Mm-hmm.
Is it? And I think that even happens during sessions for me. It's so interesting to be a practitioner and really allow yourself to get really empty so that whatever wants to come through gets to come through. And it's such a practice of releasing all of your expectations and then expecting magic.
Yep. It's one of my main affirmations every day is let go of expectations and watch the universe deliver beyond my wildest dreams. And it's a practice and it's a constant intentional practice. Okay. So you have your oil. So we're obviously going to share where people can get those. And then you also became a published author. So the priestess of like the day, the current priestess is still a badass power woman. So tell us about that.
Thank you. I forgot about that in all of this talk about oils. So yeah, I want to tell a teeny story. I remember being probably 7 years old and being at a babysitter's house and seeing a typewriter, which is hysterical.
I had my own typewriter in my room.
There you go, right?
It was very exciting. I was just telling my kids about it.
It's so cool.
So cool.
But also like, oh my God.
I'm old.
I was like, Jess, what is this? Like, and it was a stack of papers. And she's like, I'm writing a book. And she must have been in like high school, junior high school. And maybe I wasn't even 7, but I just remember being young. She was awesome. And she was writing a book. And I remember saying to myself, I'm going to write a book one day. And then I used to love writing poetry. And I remember judging myself so much and being so hard on myself that like, this isn't as good as it could be. And that criticism has really lasted for a long time. So I've always really loved to write and thought that dream would be so far from a reality because I'm just not good enough. And one of my mentors is a publisher and approached me about joining this anthology that she often does to help budding writers really like find their voice. So her name is Astara Jane Ashley, and she is the owner of Flower Life Press. And she took 33 authors through a process where on this date, your draft is due. On this date, right? Like, and it was so easy to do. But I got to write about my experience with the Magdalene and what the Magdalene means to me, and really healed a big part of my criticism through her handholding also and her encouragement. And again, sitting in circle virtually with other authors and listening to their process. And this book is really fabulous. It's really like listening. I've just started it and listening, although like leading up to the launch on Magdalene's Feast Day on July 22nd, they had many events where women, we talked about our chapters. And when you hear the different voices weave together and people's experiences, that just makes me so excited to be a part of it because these women are incredible and I get to share my voice.
In another way. So what's the book called?
It's called Magdalene Unveiled.
Okay.
And it's 33 chapters with different artists. And mine is the second to last chapter. And it's called My Voice is Medicine. And through that, Heather, I wanted to put poetry to bookend my chapters to sort of like pay homage to that little girl and her poetry. And while I was taking a shower, as one does, and the ideas come through, I started singing to myself, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a song. So I went back downstairs after my shower and I finished writing some verses, and I'm going to record a song. I'm going to record a song that will accompany the chapter. And yeah, the readers will get that gift, when you get the book and all that. But I can't wait to put that out too. So I just also share that with everyone that like, you just don't know where things are going to lead.
Yeah.
There was a moment where I'm like, I'm launching oils. I'm running international retreats. I'm doing this and that. The book is coming out. Like, do I really have time to release a song or record a song? And it's like, yeah, just do it. Like what, like, why wouldn't you just keep saying yes? The universe, God, goddess, creator just keeps opening doors. Why not just say yes? Right.
Walk through.
Yeah.
You've referenced so many times being in a circle. So even when you were just talking about the women with the anthology and being in circle, in community, obviously circle is really a big part of this path in life for you of, like you said, amplifying voices and learning and being held and supporting women. So last, let's just talk for a minute about these retreats, because you do bring women together in these beautiful spaces to connect. So you're checking all the boxes of the things you told your husband you were going to do, and you're doing it. And you're like, I told you. I told you I was going to do it. It's all happening. And so you just went to Greece, right? And you have your fall retreat. So tell us a little bit about these retreats and kind of the magic, because I've experienced a lot of retreats as well, and just the magic and like holding space and being in community with other women in particular with the work you're doing.
Yeah. I've been running retreats since I got my yoga certification, I think. And really, like, they make me think about camp as a kid, because it's like you're going away and you're going to have this experience. So I think that
you're meeting all new people most of the time. You might be lucky enough to go with someone, but maybe not. And so it can be a little intimidating.
Yeah. And it's like good to be uncomfortable like that, right? And put yourself out there. But yeah, so I've been running these for years, and, they started as yoga retreats. But you just start to see when people come together how disconnected we are from our desires, from our relationships, from our dreams. And what starts to happen is the power of witnessing has been a really big shift in the way I hold space. Because we're all whole people that come together. There's really, like, women like to fix, but so do men. So I really think that there is so much power when you take the fixing we don't need to come together to be fixed, but would be really nice is to just, hi, my name is Connie, and here's what's happening in my life. And then to have eager, loving presence surround you in that and say, I see you. I see all you're holding. I see all you're ready to create. And I believe in you. And I think that like we start to heal the sister wound, the witch wound, the mother wound, like all these wounds that keep women's voices in particular, because this is the work I do. And I know that men are rising up and their voices and their hearts need just as much healing so that we can really come together and heal this world. But with women in particular, you know, this space that is so safe to be fully everything that we want to be and try things out and be reflected back that like, yes, you're important. Yes, your voice is important and it means something to me. There's nothing like it. So to be able to get out of your day to day, there's no routines. I mean, I don't know if you do this, Heather, but like I get up with the ideas that, you know, I'm going to sit, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to anoint, and then something catches my eye that needs folding and it can derail everything.
Yep.
So being on retreat, there's no laundry to do. There's no beds to make. There's no cleaning.
It's amazing how much time you have, right? Where you're like, oh my gosh, I've done so much in this retreat and it's only like lunchtime because you're not getting distracted by all those things. Or did you do this or pay this bill or email this person for me or reach out to my teacher or whatnot? It really is that like precious time to give ourselves to just be. And like, oh my gosh, I just want to go for a walk. I'm going to go walk outside because I know, like, for instance, your retreat in the fall, gorgeous space at Menla, you know, I can only imagine outside is calling and it's like, I'm going. Yeah. Like, you don't have to say like, is someone going to be here for the kids? Do I have to get lunch for someone? It's like, I'm just going to walk outside.
That is it.
Go for a walk.
It's so true. I love that you said that. Yeah. It's so true. And like back to like the temple keepers, I feel like not having to make food is a temple pillar, right? So like you're being held in that way and your accommodations are here. But like Menla or the place that we stayed in Greece, Costa Rica, right? Like all of the land that holds us also plays a pillar. Mm-hmm. And it's also allowing women to reconnect to our cycles, the cycle of the earth, the planet, and let that sustain us and feed us so that when we go back to the real world, also I think retreat can drudge up a bit of our shadow that needs to be looked at, to be released. Sure. So that, you know, our truth can really come forward or, you know, take truth and put in what you want to put in. And then you get to go back to the real world, reality, with all these things that you've left behind that you're calling in and you're trying some new tools on for size that will reconnect you with your relationships, with your work relationship, with your children, if you have kids, right? With life. And we get to do it better.
Which is a beautiful way to see retreats. Because I think a lot of people see them as escaping, as like getting away from, but it really is a coming back to yourself and not just like, okay, I can run and run myself into the ground and then go to a retreat and I'll recharge so that I can come back and run and do it all over again and kind of empty out. But if you see it as like every time I'm actually shedding some of that when I'm away and working through some of those things. So every time I come back, I'm more elevated and I'm stepping into more of my authenticity and like, what a gift. And just, again, it's that reframing of, I'm not escaping. And good for you if you feel like you are. If it's like, I just want sleep. I want, someone to cook me some meals and I don't want to pick up after anyone. Like, that's okay too. If that's what you need, by all means, no judgment at all. But also I love that idea. And again, I hadn't thought of it that way until this moment of like being at a retreat, how in addition to all those things I named, you're able to, you are doing work, even if it doesn't feel like work. If you're just being held, like being able to release things that maybe you've been carrying for a long time and it's creating frustration and affecting your relationships and you can't connect, you leave all that there and you come back. It's like you're a new human. It's like you shed like a whole potential.
I mean, these are the retreats I want to go on, right? Yeah. Like the rest to me is vacation.
Yeah.
It's
exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which oftentimes you need another vacation from the vacation. Which is why I would prefer a retreat.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you choose the locations for your retreats? Is it things that call to you?
Yeah, I think that really I'll pay attention and get recommendations because I think there's so many things to see. But I got really lucky with Menla. I think there's ley lines that run through upstate New York and the Catskills
For
like
sure.
that. It's so sacred, that land. And I think running these retreats, this will be my 4th year. If it works, I just want to keep hosting them there. I love it. Costa Rica was calling to me, but I scouted that before I went. And Greece was calling to me, and my partner, Sonia, is incredible. And she was scouting before. And when she came home and was lit up and reminded me constantly, Connie, the land and where we will be is a major player in the retreat, right? Like to lean into that energy that will hold us. So yeah, I do. I think sussing it out and getting eyes on it is ideal, but I didn't have eyes on it with Menla. They just make everything really easy, accessible. And I feel so supported to be like a solo leader. I
Yeah.
get to call in different people to help me around the weekend, and I don't have to worry about meal planning.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
That
So
in and of
works.
itself is like, oh I'm in.
Oh my God.
I'm in.
I don't even want to think. I don't even know what to make for dinner half the time.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
please, I trust you.
That's every day for, unless yesterday I had intention. So I was like, oh, I'm making this because I happen to have gotten something that I wanted to make.
Oh God,
Otherwise,
yes.
that's my everyday. So
yes,
sure, most people listening to this can relate, and men too. I know you all cook. I give you credit, but most of us, it's us. Well, so beautiful. I love this full circle of where we started and ending on the retreat, because I do think, and I feel like that could be a whole episode in and of itself of which, maybe we should talk about like doing a retreat, because I think it's really important that it's not this like, us running away from things, and that sacred space and all of the things you're talking about, being able to have space to receive and learn even about the priestess path or the Magdalens or, any of this, having the time with the oils and just space, sacred space, yoga, moving your body, being in nature, like whatever that connection is, drawing, coming back, poetry, like all those things that, you've unearthed or re-earthed or called in, like how beautiful, but we do need to have that space to be able to receive those things. So as we wrap up, so I always like to ask, what is something practical that you think anyone listening today could walk away with, whether it's from the scent perspective or just everyday life of something we talked about that you would share with someone?
I think the greatest gift we can give ourselves is a morning practice. And I think that depending on the season of your life, maybe you have plenty of time to do that, but it doesn't take much. I would say set aside 5 minutes. And the morning practice could be as simple as not looking at your phone, making your cup of coffee or your tea, and opening the door and greeting the sun and drinking the first few sips out there and taking a few deep breaths. Or, you get an anointing oil and you wake up and you brush your teeth and you pour your coffee and you anoint yourself with intention and make a prayer. But anything that's going to slow you down to pay attention to, like, how does Connie feel right now? And then just giving space to listen. Because how many times are we getting out of bed and just jolting ourselves out and starting without even checking in with our desires and our needs? So that would be my offering. Yeah.
I love that. I love morning practices. It is so important. But also I like the idea of doing that too in the middle of the day, of almost like setting a timer to just, which sounds awful, but I think initially, especially if you're going through your day, it's too easy for the day to just fly by and all of a sudden it's bedtime and you're like, I'm too tired to do anything. But thinking about in the middle of the day, maybe before you have lunch or something, of like, let me just check in with myself for a minute and let me take a breath and slow down, because I think we get on that hamster wheel then and we're like going. And to use that as a practice as well, to step outside, put your feet on the ground, on the earth, drink some water, maybe just say like, wow, you've done so much already today, and like honor yourself, back to this worthiness of,
Absolutely.
I think that could be beautiful to apply multiple times a day if you can do it, but definitely starting the morning. And certainly I think of it as like, because I have a whole morning practice too with my gratitude practice and prayer, and thinking about that too in the middle of the day could be like, I feel like I'm going to set an alarm for that and do that. I have so many alarms that go off, but it's okay.
It's okay.
It's that
Just
reminder where then you don't, at some point, the hope is you don't need the alarm anymore because you're like, wait, something's missing. I didn't do this. And you feel its absence and you're like, I need this, because you realize the value in it. But, it takes a little while to reprogram our brains in this crazy matrix. So
it does.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the wisdom and gifts that you shared with us today. Love learning more about the Priestess path. I think it's just so beautiful and magical. And I love that you, and I think also knowing that there's a lot of women out there that are bringing this back for us, for the collective, because it's not about this being for women, because we know the women are creating these spaces to have that safe space for men to feel and to be in touch with more of their feminine side, and to not feel like they have to be in this masculine space. But most of the time that's women holding that for them, saying it's okay. It's okay to not feel like you have to be this like rough and tough guy that knows the answer and provides and do all these things. You don't have to. Like, we've got you.
Love that.
We can work together. And so I think all of us, by having, this Priestess path, and experiencing, even if you're not on it yourself, anyone who's listening, but to know you, to hear your voice, and to hear that there are people out there who are, kind of raising the vibration from a collective perspective to bring these practices back to us, to say, yeah, all that stuff that's outside and what we see on social media and all these things aren't like, that doesn't have to be your reality. There's so much inner wisdom and so many ancient teachings that need to come back to us, that we've forgotten, that are really who we are. And the other stuff outside is really distracting us from that for a reason, unfortunately. So how can we call that in? And yeah, I just love it.
Heather, thank you. Thank you for seeing me and just really, like, I don't know, what you just said really meant a lot to me, because I think that it's the truth. You don't have to be a priestess to be rising up and bringing this collective forward.
Yeah.
The energy
we all
that's
have to
rising.
find our way. And you found this beautiful way to do it. And people who are lucky to hear you or know you or be in your presence get to experience that. And there's other ways that people can do it. Maybe it's, coming back to something like poetry you wrote as a child. Yeah. And that's like your way to say, I'm connecting back to myself and giving yourself that gift. So whatever that looks like, I hope listeners take a moment to think about that for themselves, and maybe pause and figure out either a morning routine or something in the middle of the day to just come back to yourself and give yourself that gift. So thank you. I'm so excited for you and all these, your oils that you've launched and your book, and we'll share all the things. It's so awesome.
Thank you.
But I'm so grateful for you. So thank you. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your precious day to listen to our podcast. If this episode resonated with you, we would love for you to share it with someone you love. That would mean the world to us. Also, if you feel called, please follow our show so you will know when a new episode drops. If you want to go one step further, you can even rate this episode, as it allows our podcast to find its way to others. Lastly, we've done our best to share resources that you might find helpful in the show notes, whether that's a book recommendation or a website we referenced during the episode, a free resource, or more information on a guest who took their time to speak with us and share their knowledge. We would love for you to support their work too. You can find more information on our podcast website at becomingspiritual.me. We love you and can't wait for you to hear the next episode. Until then, know you have a place where you are welcome and you are loved. Welcome home.